Today we're going to take a look at the really interesting Staffer Case, a supernatural mystery adventure, which is a detective adventure game. As with any sponsored video, we do have a copy of this very cool game to give away to you. Just leave your comments down below. What are your favourites in this genre? It's got a bit of a Phoenix Wright vibe to it, and maybe something like Hotel Dusk on the DS. It was developed by Team Tetrapod, and they've kindly sponsored this one for us to show you everything about the game, which is available now on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I do like a detective visual novel story, I must say. So interested to dive into this one. What's it all about? Well, let's find out.
So the narrative centres around a new detective called No Trick, who has decided to leave his hometown and head to London to join an agency that investigate crimes related to staffers who have magical abilities.
Yeah, so in this universe, a number of the population are these staffers, and as Mark says, that means they are born with some sort of ability, some sort of magical ability, with London being or having the highest density of people with these abilities, 10% of the population. And the agency mentioned a moment ago are charged with dealing with any incidents regarding such people to keep affairs in order. It's set in the 1960s, and it's the Mana Affairs Division that we're talking about in terms of that agency. And as Mark said, No Trick is their newest recruit.
So the general setup of the game sees you investigating several cases, the first of which features a murder, and you have to use the various abilities of your fellow detectives to try and find inconsistencies as well as corroborating evidence based on what you've gathered so far.
Yeah, so for example, one of your colleagues' ability is to register people's heartbeats and see if there are fluctuations that may lead to them not telling the truth. And another's is to be able to bullet point and break down the times that certain events have happened within a crime scene.
Yeah, so for example, things like footprints on the ground, the longer they're there, it will change the colour that you have on that piece of evidence, and then you'll match those to statements made within other clues that you've gathered.
To put this into practice then, early on in the case, one of the witnesses says that they only visited the crime scene once, and this was post-murder if you like. However, the colour of the footprints on the floor suggests otherwise, so you can show that this person is lying by using your fellow detective's ability and the evidence that then provides.
The evidence board allows you to pin pieces of evidence, one on the left and one on the right, so that you can quickly at a glance begin to more accurately determine the contradictory statements.
This can also apply to your colleagues, as they will give you their version of events or hypothesize as to what may have happened. You can use the evidence to oppose their statements and try to, in your mind, put a clear version of events together.
Your investigations will take you all across London, travelling around in the back of the agency's car, which is filled with all the evidence that you've gathered.
Yeah, you'll make your way to the locations for each crime, and again you'll use your colleagues' powers within these areas. For example, another one can read the memories of inanimate objects, and from here, coupled with what you already know, you can really start to piece things together.
Each of the characters has a very unique personality. They are quite quirky, and throughout the course of the game you get to know more about them and their own motivations.
Yeah, there are a few humorous moments. There was one where you're talking to one of your colleagues again, and they mentioned that they like tea, which was quite pertinent to me as a tea drinker. And your character says that he prefers coffee. And she says something to him like, are you sure you're not going to change your mind? Because if you don't, the next time we speak, we may well be enemies. Or it just made me chuckle.
Did you write that line?
I could have done. I could have done for sure. Once you've got this evidence, you can then start to interrogate witnesses and start to pull apart their statements. Now, we did go into this earlier to a degree, but what I found quite interesting is that whilst you can quite quickly confirm whether someone is lying by using your colleague's powers, you can't reveal this to the suspects, and instead you must then find clear evidence to support what you already know. I just thought this was quite an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, for sure. The confirmation of those clues will gradually point you towards the guilt or innocence of a certain person, and then as Glen says, finding that evidence is the final nail. As far as controlling all of this, well, it's done using the analog sticks, clicking and dragging, moving things around, or clicking a piece of evidence twice to pin it to the top of the screen. Now, unfortunately, there isn't touch screen. That's certainly something I would like to see them add in if possible.
There are a number of hotkeys at the bottom of the screen to allow you to do certain actions, but as Mark said, it would be nice to be able to jump to certain pieces of information a little bit quicker.
On the visuals front, both of us straight away likened this to Fugue Melodies of Steel. It has that lovely I don't know, hybrid art style.
Yeah, it's one of those where it certainly reminds you of a previous time, even if that time isn't actually real. You know, it has that sepia tone to it where it feels nostalgic for an era that's fictitious, which is quite strange, but quite an achievement at the same time.
Yeah, I enjoyed the character models as well. They are a little over the top, but I think they do well to kind of characterize the different skills that those detectives have.
At the beginning we mentioned Hotel Dusk, which was a game that was out on the DS many years ago. And the reason that it reminds me of that to a small degree is that every so often you'll have like recap sections.
Nice.
And it's something that game did particularly well. And here it just helps you to kind of bring your thoughts together. A nice slow melody playing in the background to help you kind of slow your heart rate down yourself and think about what you've seen. It's a very effective method in a detective game.
Alongside that, you've got a really well-designed soundtrack. It's again very melodic, very slower paced, I guess, and it just ties together nicely with that imagery.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of like the save room music in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where you sometimes just have that downtime moment in a game. This has that as you're trying to piece your thoughts together, as I said a moment ago, and I think that was a very good choice.
The whole experience is fully narrated. It is in Japanese audio. There's no English translation, but you have the English on the screen, which has seen a localization to provide more colloquial language.
Yeah, again, it might have been nice to have an English dub. I do prefer watching games in Japanese and having the subtitles, but this is the sort of game I'd like to play with my wife. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to read along to a game together. So just for that reason, that might have been nice. But what's here does work very well. So moving on to the value section then, and Starter Case, a supernatural mystery adventure, to give it its full title, costs £20.99, and you'll see the regional equivalents at the bottom of your screen.
For that price, you're getting 5 cases, 2 side stories, as well as a spin-off case called Starter Reborn. And you're looking at between 10 and 15 hours to finish it. But if you want to find all of the clues and discover every little story area, you're pushing more towards 18 to 20 hours. So overall, a good amount of content for the price being asked.
So there we have it, that's Starter Case. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I knew I would. I do like these sort of games. I've said many times, I read a lot of detective books, things like Poirot. So this game was right up my street or down my alley, whichever way you want to walk. Yeah, no, enjoyed it. It was good.
Lovely stuff. We will have a link to it in the description and in the top pinned comment. If you want to support us and go check out the game, just click the link and have a little look, see if it's something you're considering, or add it to your wish list.
Thank you to the publishing team for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, as Mark said at the beginning, we are looking to give away a code. Just let us know your favourite game in this genre. Thank you to our patrons and our channel members for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.